Okay. So what good would any of this be without a actual demo of some of the drawing techniques I talk about? Well, so just to cover some basics, let me find the sharpener I use usually. Well, I guess I can't find the sharpener I usually use. Oh, here it is. So one thing for tools, if you can notice my disorganized box right here, it has a lid. This is good to have, especially if you're on the travel or you're on the go. If you also notice is that usually it's organized. I buy the same pencil. That way I have like I don't have to feel scared that I'm going to run out of pencils. Something when I was younger, getting art supplies from my dad was like pulling teeth. Now, just to go over this is like, why do I have these different types of tools or these different types of pencils? Because each tip is going to be different. So, you know, something I didn't know when I was younger is that this tip, this chisel tip, is going to create a different stroke. You know, this little smelly marker is going to create a different stroke. Mr. Scented? So forth and so on. And then here's like a tech pen, so I can show how to demo with a tech pen. Things to note, my favorite that I picked up from Crilly was this PC935. It's Black Noir from Prismacolor. I usually use this for scanners and darks. I also want to show what I did is that I took 2 rubber bands as mentioned, and I have a little foam thing. That way I can have a better grip. Oh, pencil holders. This right by far, I picked this up at an art store here in Colorado. Which I really love this pencil holder. I can't get a brand name off of it. What's it say? I guess it's Monolith. They really have a good extender. The other extender I use usually isn't as good as this one, and it's really meant for the PCs right here. But this one can hold like regular pencils too and really get a good extend. Plus, if you notice, is like the grip on this. Look at this, it's glorious. It's really ergonomic, so you can really do different strokes and stuff like that. Oh, different ways to hold things. So this is one way to hold it, right? Traditional, right? Notice my hand is cramming, that's bad. I stick out my finger, and that's a good way to make a stroke. Okay? Other things you can do is, this is the Eric Larson method. He draws like this. Story behind it is he broke his hand when he was, I think, skiing or skateboarding, can't remember, and he draws like this. And again, if you notice, like the idea is the further away from the paper, the more control that you can create in your strokes. That's kind of the thing that you want to keep in mind. Now, ideally, for as far as other drawing tools, even though you can have like a full cartoonist table, and if you get used to it, I recommend it. For me, myself, I am used to, and I just watch my back, I'm used to drawing on just a, this is my method, drawing on a sketchbook, and then I'm just going to take these images and I'm going to make them digital. Now, and the thing is that this is really cool. I'd get a gridded one. Most of these are at the art school. They're double grid. I got this from the McLeod class. And because they have 1 inches here, you can easily draw panels and draw, as you can see here, right on top if you ever need to measure something like a face, or if you're doing model sheets or something like that. But again, when it comes to model sheets, measure maybe in the beginning, but try not to measure too much when you draw. It might create issues with flow. For panel stuff, when I do panel work, I use this one. It's a small little isosceles triangle, 45, 45, 90, and this really gets all the corners and panels I need. But a careful note on my panel work, a critique on my panel work is I'm very traditional. I'm very kind of bland on my layouts, so using this in the beginning is okay, but I'm just noting my faults right now. Alright, so the idea is that to practice this stuff, what you really want to do is you want to create 2 different types of strokes. You have your small strokes, which could be like a box, and then you just make a pattern of lines. Let's see if I can get in there. So you can see this. I'm just making like the same line strokes I'm going through. And then how I practice that in is I go in and make another set of patterns like this, and I just set control on different types of pressures. Same thing happens here. Might start with circles, and it's going to create different things, right? And then maybe I come back with the opposite circles. And this really helps, you know, I want to be able to do different pressures. So maybe if I start here, let me do another one. I'll start with just a circle. I'll press really hard. And then as I get out, I'll go a little bit lighter, a little bit lighter, a little bit lighter. And I want it to vary in pressure because that's why pencil is good to learn to draw with. Now the problem is that this right here probably won't scan. But here, this dark part will scan. And that's just something to note about things that are picking up. In fact, even here you can tell between the different pressures. And then the other thing I want to do is I want to have fun. If this becomes an expense matter, chalkboards are great to learn this. They teach the same thing. The Chinese use sandboxes, interestingly enough. And another one you can use is newsprint, aside from the fact it creates a fire hazard. So don't leave the old newsprint pads around with the charcoal. Firefighter told me that spontaneous combustion does exist. And so as you can see, like right here, I'm making now a different set of strokes, portraying the pressure, and I'm really having fun with a wider set of strokes. And the reason I'm doing this is that, this is just good to get that feeling of wide strokes. Now, you don't really want to, when you draw, unless you do it on purpose, you don't really want to draw like hatches. This is hatches. Because hatches, or when you draw, you don't want to draw lines like this. This is bad to draw lines like this, unless you're doing it on purpose. I've actually gotten out of the habit. What you really want to do, and you can actually create a pattern box of lines like that too, like cracks and stuff. These can become trees or leaves or something like that. But what you really want to do is you want to really just get in the habit of continuous lines that flow. Remember that thing about chi, or in a sense, flow. You always want to have flow in your art. That's just the big thing. All right, okay, let's go through.